Good evening and welcome to City Limits. My name is Norm McCourt, the host of City Limits, the show that provides you with information about the people, places, and events that shape the character of our community. Joining me tonight is Jerry Welch. I don't know if I can reach you, Jerry. You're way over on the end.
Hi, Norm.
Jerry is mayor of Webster Groves. We have Monica Huddleston, who's mayor of Greendale.
You can reach
And
Monica.
we have, I can reach you. And we have Tim Fisher, sir. Welcome back, Tim. He's
Thank you.
director of St. Louis County Municipal League. Well, we have a very special show tonight. There's a lot of things going on in St. Louis County and also on the state level concerning services and what municipalities can provide and what they should provide and so on. We're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. And Monica is from a small city and Jerry's from a big city, so we kind of have a balance. I'm kind of in the middle. We're just medium here in Blackjack. So we can kind of talk about what some of the services cities provide and some of the things what residents really expect. So let's talk about, first of all, Jerry, let's talk about Webster Groves. Kind of describe Webster Groves, and I think everybody knows where it's at, but we may have some viewers that don't.
Well, Webster Groves is a community of close to 25,000 in the southwest part of St. Louis County. We're an old historic community. We're not a big box community. We host probably more nonprofit institutions than any other community in the St. Louis region. We're a walkable, bikeable, kind of great place to live, and we were named the Creative Community of Missouri for 2013, which we're enjoying a lot.
It's kind of a college atmosphere, isn't it? In Webster Groves, you can walk to a lot of stuff, you can bike to it.
You can walk, you can bike. We have lots of parks and small businesses, so yes, it's a great community.
Great. And then Monica is from Greendale. Kind of describe where Greendale is and a little bit about your community.
City of Greendale, we call it the best kept secret of Mid to North County. We are located right across the street from the Normandy Golf Course, which is off of St. Charles Rock Road and Normandy Drive, for those who are not as familiar. We are less than a mile from University of Missouri St. Louis, which we consider a great anchor for our community, and Express Scripts and places like that. And very close to I-170 and Hanley, places like that. We are 99.9% residential. We have just under 700 people, between 650 and 700, depending on whether or not you believe the census figures. And it's just a wonderful, quiet bedroom community that's a little over 65 years old.
There you go. Well, Blackjack is kind of in the middle of you two. We're 7,000 people, and we're basically a bedroom community, very few businesses. And so we don't have a lot of bike trails, but we do have a lot of residential subdivision type streets where a lot of people bike on. We got several parks, so kind of in the middle of between you. Well, let's talk about some of the different things and how maybe different sizes affect how we react with each other and so on. So let's start out. Tim, I skipped you, but I'm not going to skip you.
I understand.
But St. Louis County Municipal League is a member organization of most of the municipalities in St. Louis County. I think you cover most of them.
That's right. We're almost 100 years old, and it's a voluntary organization. Any city can join any year, and almost all the cities do join every year. And I think the reason they do reflects a little bit back on what both the mayors said. You have two types of communities that they mentioned. Yours is a third type, and we have other types also. But the forum for the league allows all the mayors and elected officials to come together to work on things not just for their own communities, but for the larger good in the region and in the county. And so we're kind of that platform for cooperation and ways to save money through cooperation and things like that. We also like to do whatever we can with our larger civic members, whether it's our big radio systems or trying to improve the arts downtown. And we provide that forum for the mayors and others to participate in those types of regional improvements while working on improvements in their own communities too. So sometimes we're answering very specific questions about what might be in the state statutes or some law case that's winding its way through the courts. And and other times we're trying to do whatever we can for the greater good. I don't think anybody wants to live in a nice little municipality in a bad region. So those, both our goals are to make both neighborhoods and the greater region a wonderful place for all of us to live.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going. There's two types of cooperation. There's the cooperation between municipalities and the county government, and also cooperation on a broad regional basis. So let's start with the broad regional basis, and then we'll finish up with the community type things that we all do with various communities. On a regional basis, one of the things that I know the Municipal League did, and whichever one of you want to take the question can, was recently the emergency communication system that the voters approved, and it's being spread out throughout St. Louis County now. Who wants to kind of describe how we put together and did that?
I'll defer to Jerry on that.
Well, I was very involved with the educational aspect of the 911 information campaign, and the need was so significant in the region to have these agencies and various public safety organizations be able to talk to each other. We have plenty of examples of cases where you have large-scale accidents or large-scale trauma event, and the various groups need to talk with each other. So yes, we became very, very active in working with police chiefs and fire chiefs and communities to make this happen. And just before the show, I was talking to one of the St. Louis County police officers who is so looking forward to the inauguration of that new system. It'll be a really, really good, significant step forward in this region.
And we're all very much dependent on our emergency and police and fire services to be able to communicate well with each other, to be able to help all of us to do what needs to be done in an emergency situation. And I guess the old antiquated systems, and this one being on this frequency and that one being on that frequency and what have you, really wasn't the best situation. And I understand now those things will be, to a great extent, mitigated. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing for all of us, service-wise.
Yeah, and also the system will, from what I understand, interface outside of our region.
Yes.
In other words, you could, and actually outside of our state, I think they're talking about, you can actually talk to Illinois, which is our most adjacent state, and kind of communicate back and forth and so on. So
Very
that's
important.
And Tim has been sitting on that Emergency Communications Commission for quite a while now, and so we really have to thank him for his leadership in seeing the need for that and making all of this happen. Thanks, Tim.
Well, thank you. It's been a real pleasure, and it will be a great improvement for St. Louis. As a matter of fact, the federal government is holding up St. Louis as a model for other areas to follow because of the tremendous support from the mayors, from the county executive, county council. We had to get a tax passed. The business community helped with passing that tax. It's just been a tremendous effort on both the private sector and the public sector to make sure that citizens could get the responses they need from our first responders when they dial 911. And so we had a lot of examples that came out of 9/11 and New York particularly, where there are breakdowns in communication, and we believe it resulted in loss of life and additional injury. And that was really a motivating factor to take it to a new level here. And citizens responded by giving us a small tax to try to do this right. And it's just been probably a textbook example of how to do it right, with a lot of people on board all rowing the boat in the right direction. So we hope to turn the system on next year, 2014, and transition over to it. We have some little transitions going on now with some of the new radios.
sounds great. Well, you know, when you consider an emergency system like that, it's kind of a two-edged sword. It's not only the safety of the residents, but also the safety of the first responders.
Absolutely.
Because if they can't talk, you don't know what this guy's doing, don't know what this
right.
person's doing, and it could present a real difficult problem. So that's one really good example of communities working together along with the county and the state and the federal government in this particular case to accomplish something for the good of our community. Let's talk about, now this is an interesting one, probably divergent views on this one. sales tax. The Municipal League had a task group to study how we could solve, or how we could help the sales tax problem, because some cities believe they need to have all the money or a big portion of it, and some cities believe they need it spread out. So there had to try to be a compromise among the cities to come up with some possible way we could do this. And I know the state now, they set up a task force, and that's one of the things that the state government is looking at, trying to decide. But we have come up with a solution already, and who wants to discuss that one a little bit? I was on the committee, and I know
Sure, we
Yes.
everyone
have.
here was on that committee.
I guess a good bit of 2012, Municipal League, cities, representatives, mayors, city administrators, finance officers from those cities got together and looked at the sales tax distribution formula and the sales tax distribution issues that have kind of bubbled up in the last few years. It's been off and on for a few years now, but I guess it got to fever pitch last year at the state level in Jefferson City, of cities who are considered point of sale cities and cities who are considered pool cities. And we won't get into all that description, but basically the point of sale cities are the ones that typically have the shopping centers or the big retail outlets that generate a lot of sales tax with sales. And then there are others of our communities that don't have a lot of retail to generate those taxes. So there are cities who are in the pool and cities who are considered point of sale. And there were some cities who felt that they were contributing too much to the pool, and they felt like the sales tax formula should be changed so that they could keep more of what they considered their money in their community. And I think what's important in all of that is that pool cities, residents shop in point of sale cities, places. So we all spend our money everywhere in the whole region. And so that's why the tax sharing situation was created in the first place back in 1970s, and then it was modified in the 1990s. So the compromise that we all came up with was one that we could deal with. Everybody's not happy with it, but the overwhelming majority of the municipalities in the St. Louis County Municipal League were happy with it and voted in favor of it. So we hope something like that will be what the state decides to do with the joint committee that they're looking at, if they decide to do anything at all, which would suit a lot of us just fine too. So.
Now, it was the most important thing out of that was the compromising between the large cities and the small, or point of sale versus the pool cities. There was a lot of compromising
Sure.
amongst the cities, which was
Sure.
really, really a good thing.
It was.
Do you want to address that at all, Jerry?
Well, and I think what we did was we looked at tweaking some areas of the current law. For example, every city has a quarter-cent option, sales tax option, and now that is pooled, and we believe that that was one way in which many of the point-of-sale cities could keep a larger portion from their own big box and mall-type arrangements. So there were a number of things like that that would have, I think, that would serve the pool cities and the point-of-sale cities in a much fairer way. But, you know, it comes down to how much you really think about regionalism and this idea that we work and shop and eat and live in so many different communities. And when your when your tax base is sales and not property, it has a much more regional perspective to it.
Of course.
In my own community, you know, we house so many regional institutions, Edgewood and Epworth and college and schools and you name it, and they are regional institutions, and we really count on a more regional base to help fund the police and fire and other services that we provide for those institutions.
But depending on the size of the city, depends, number one, on your tax structure, and then also the level of services you provide. For example, what type services does your community provide, Monica?
With the city of Greendale, with our being so small and basically a bedroom community, we pretty much contract out for everything. We contract with other cities, for instance. We contract with the city of Normandy for police protection services, which they do an excellent job for us. It wouldn't be cost efficient for us to establish our own police department. We're served by the Mid-County Fire Protection District, which serves several municipalities. We have a contract with a trash hauler, a regular commercial trash hauler, to pick up trash and recycle and yard waste. We contract out for that. So for us, since we don't have our own public works department and that kind of thing, if we want to fix our streets and sidewalks, then we do the formal bid process and we contract out for that work. And we do that as efficiently and as effectively as we can. And we're pretty proud of how we do it. We spend somewhere around $625 per person per year to deliver all of the services that we deliver for the city of Greendale, which we think is an extremely efficient way to do local government.
There you go. How about you, Jerry?
Well, a city our size is kind of a nice size city to provide our own police protection, which we have. We have our own fire department and EMS services, our own parks and public works department. So we're able to provide all of that, and we're able to address our citizens' wants because we are able to do that. For example, in the area of parks, we can respond to citizen requests and needs for equipment and fields and that sort of thing for our parks. One of the other things, though, that we do a lot of is we do a lot of mutual aid. There are a lot of communities around us that have their own ambulance. For example, Shrewsbury has an ambulance and their own fire department. And we work really closely with those communities. And that's a very nice and important piece of a lot of what happens in this region, is that kind of cooperative piece between and among cities in the area.
Yes, a lot of viewers, I'm sure, don't realize that cities do cooperate on such a
Yes.
high basis.
Huge, huge amount of cooperation.
Our city is somewhat similar to Monica's. In that, we contract for some services rather than try to provide our own police service. I mean, we have St. Louis County Police as our police protection. And it's more cost efficient for us to do that as opposed to, building a police station and having, a lot of officers and try to take care of the vacations and so on. It works a lot better. And we have a fire district, like Monica was saying her city does, that, we're part of that fire district, but it's part of Florissant and, some of the unincorporated area. So much different perspective than what you have, Jerry, but it's a similar situation. In other words, I might be contracting, if I was close to you, I might be contracting with you.
But if I can get on my soapbox for just a minute,
Uh-oh.
this is the whole value of local government, is that we know our citizens, we're close to them, they find us in the grocery store, they find us everywhere, and the thing that we are most responsible for is providing the services for our citizens in the most efficient way possible. All of us in local government know that we have those citizens who watch us all the time, and we are very, very cognizant of what our communities want and need and how we can do that in the most cost-effective process going. And I think that's what local government is all about, and the value of local government. And that's the value of having these communities in the St. Louis region, where the lifestyle can be reflected in local government, and that's what we're here for. We're here to make our communities better.
It's the diversity of size of municipality. We've got 90 municipalities in St. Louis County, and some, for some reason, think that's too many municipalities. And I think if you spoke with any one of our municipalities' residents, they would tell you that they don't want their particular municipality to go away. They want it to be that way. They want to control their own community in concert with all of the other communities around it. And Mayor Welch is absolutely correct in terms of how much our residents find us. They find me in my garden, they come to my door, they will call me at any time, and I don't think that you could do that in a very large city environment. They don't have to wait in line to talk to me. They know exactly where I live, and they will come to the door and knock, and there you have it. It's responsive, accessible, and responsible government that we have, and that's the way our citizens expect for it to be. And it's a joy to provide that, quite frankly.
Yeah, it is immediate response where, if you got, for instance, like the city of St. Louis, I don't think you get as quick response, or St. Louis County, I don't think you'll get as quick response as if they found you in the grocery store
got
and
it.
ask you a question.
Yes.
Although
You
you
got
can
it.
sometimes get in trouble answering questions in grocery stores. I've had that happen too. And I think we've all been there.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, we have.
Indeed.
One of
I was going to add, the nice thing about it is that the communities can assemble the types of services and the rates of taxes that they want for their particular community. You don't have somebody 25 miles away trying to tell you what your park ought to be like in your neighborhood or something. We certainly understand there's different levels of government that can do different things, but the things that municipalities do that are close to residents are allowed to be designed to meet their particular needs and desires in the way we have the arrangement in St. Louis County. We don't get involved in wars. That's a federal government role. We don't get involved in sewerage. That's a Metropolitan Sewer District role. But when it comes to the municipality's role, you can determine how many parks you want. You can determine how great you want your snow removal to be. You can say we want all the streets cleaned in 4 hours, or you can say we want them all cleaned in 8 hours. But those are things that the citizens in each community can make decisions about. And that's one of the things a lot of people forget about St. Louis County's benefits.
A lot of people think when it's snow removal, that's it. That's your job. That's what the cities do, and it's really a lot more than that. Do you have any interfacing with the schools in your communities other than, it's a school district, correct? I know yours.
Normandy
Yeah.
School District is who we have, and we have our challenges right now, of course, but through our efforts with the 24-1 organization that Beyond Housing has helped us put together of all the 24 municipalities in that district, we've been working together very hard to try to improve the quality of life for our children, tutoring and all these other programs that we're trying to help shore up the district with, so that the resurrection of our district will be a reality for us. It's really important for us to be a living, breathing part of the district that serves us.
How about Webster Groves, Jerry?
We have much cooperation and collaboration with the school district. Our superintendent has formed a legislative advocacy committee that I serve on. We also have Rock Hill in our school district, and the mayor of Rock Hill and I serve on that committee. We meet fairly frequently, and I probably have some interaction with the school superintendent several times a week for one thing or another. Our police are very active with the schools. One of our patrol officers recently did some football coaching. And so, yes, that relationship is a very strong relationship, because quite frankly, the strength of your schools and the strength of your community do go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. If you got good schools, you got a good community.
And a good community will have good schools.
Right. Exactly, vice versa works. And I'm sure you do the same thing with fire districts, and what other districts does, for instance, Webster Grove work with besides fire and school district? I'm sure you have Webster University in your community.
Yes, and we have, in our community, we have almost 20 boards and commissions, and several of those boards and commissions work around districts. Particularly, we have 3 particular taxing districts where our businesses raise their own money and then decide how to use it to improve their business district. So, yes, we work pretty closely. We work closely with Municipal League, with the Metro Mayors Group, the Missouri Municipal League. There are lots of ways in which we all work together.
Sure. Similarly, I think that the Normandy area Great Streets project that was funded by East West Gateway Council of Governments has spawned a beautiful partnership between the University of Missouri St. Louis, the city of Normandy, and several of the cities along the Natural Bridge corridor between Lucas and Hunt and even further east than that and all the way to Bell Ridge. There have been some wonderful collaborative meetings going on to explore and get on the books some uniform sign ordinances so that the corridor itself starts to look and feel more homogeneous and more inviting to business and things. All the construction on that Natural Bridge corridor starts next year. We have the city of Pagedale, who is my immediate eastern neighbor, who is doing some wonderful things as well with grants that they've received and new stores that have never been there before, a new bank that has never been there before. There's a lot of development going on. There's several Metrolink stations that we're talking about looking at transit-oriented development districts. So there's a lot of collaboration and study going on with all different forms of life in that greater Normandy area where we are. And we in Greendale are just happy to be a part of that and supportive of that, because we'll be able to walk to those businesses like they do in Webster Groves and walk to those restaurants and that. We enjoy our trails now with St. Vincent Park and the St. Vincent Trail that Great Rivers Greenway built 2 steps from our door, you see. So there's some wonderful amenities. They don't have to be controlled by your own municipality. You work with all the entities in your whole neighborhood to make for a great quality of life. And I think we do that very well in St. Louis County, even with all the different municipalities that we have, because we all sink or swim together. So once we figure that out, you know, I think we all started working together a whole lot better.
Yeah, well, at least we have a lot more events in St. Louis County because of all the different municipalities have different events on different days. So
Sure.
you've got a lot of opportunities there.
That's a fact.
Let's talk a little bit about citizen involvement and, you know, what communities do to involve their citizens and possibly citizens from outside of their communities in whatever events or whatever things that go on in your city. What, Tim, you have any comments on it? First,
Well,
I'll start with, I've kind of left you, you've been sitting there.
Jerry
kind of-
started to mention that they have over 10 boards.
We have almost 20 boards.
Almost 20 boards and commissions. And most of those are going to be populated by people who reside in the community, but not all of them necessarily have to. That means that if there's between 5 and 10 people on each one of those, you're talking about 125, maybe 150 people formally involved in making recommendations or decisions on what happens in Webster Groves. And you multiply that then by 90 municipalities, some may not have that many boards and commissions, but we end up with thousands of
Right.
people in St. Louis County actively involved in their municipal government. I would say that probably most places in the United States are crying because they can't get citizens to be involved. And we're just the opposite in St. Louis County. Many of those end up being training grounds for people who want to run for office later on also. But I think the beauty of it is that people buy into their communities because they have a real opportunity to make recommendations on how things can be done. And Monica has some of her boards and commissions, and they're in all the communities.
Sure.
There's also many other activities. I mean, the Boy Scouts might want to do a project with some of our cities. That's not uncommon as they work on merit badges and things like that. But the mayors can talk more about the specifics.
We have, you know, even with a small municipality like Greendale, we still have a planning and zoning commission. We still have a board of adjustment. We have a forestry advisory committee, which we have 400 trees that are on city property in Greendale. Beautiful trees that we want to keep. They add value to our properties. They add to our quality of life environmentally and aesthetically and everything else. And we've got a wonderful forestry advisory committee that spends a lot of volunteer time actually doing a little bit of the tree trimming and things like that when they can do that, if it's low enough to the ground and what have you. They make the recommendations on what trees need to be trimmed this year and which ones need to be cut down because they're dying or whatever. It's really a wonderful source of help for the local government to have so much involvement from its residents. We have a neighborhood association as well who puts on the holiday party every year or the National Night Out events that we have because we want residents to have a lot of input as to what goes on. This is your city. You need to help plan it. You need to help implement these things. And they're typically willing to do that. So we're blessed to have that kind of participation in all of our municipalities, I think.
You know, one of the things when you know, people do those surveys of the St. Louis region, we always end up at the top of the list for voters. I mean, voting participation is always high in the St. Louis region. I think part of it is because we have these communities that people are so involved in. And also that involvement in government is extremely high in the St. Louis region. So that's a real plus for us. And yes, like Monica, all those boards and commissions get people involved. I watch social structures being built around a lot of volunteer activity. This is where people get to know each other and their families get to know each other. And it's also where you have that huge pride in community that occurs. That night study that was done recently on communities and community building really had a lot to say about how people feel about their communities and volunteerism and what that means for building a very healthy community. And so I think that's one of the things we're so hard on ourselves in St. Louis. We're always looking at the downside of this community and what can we do to make things better instead of looking at the things that are so right in St. Louis. That's right. And that community involvement and community building and sense of place. This is where I belong. This is my home. Right. I'm going to make it a better place. Is so rich here.
Big time.
Well, you know, basically the boards and commissions and committees and so on in the various communities, they actually shape the character of the community. Yes. That's what, you know, that community wants. And, you know, I hope the legislators look at that. You know, if you have an active government in your community and you have boards, commissions, and committees, this is what the people want.
That's right.
Yes.
I mean, those, you know, the people that are on the boards, commissions, and committees, they're just kind of the carrier pigeons that bring the information to you, but, you know, that's how you shape it. The other thing that, you know, I do a lot of, I'm sure you do too, you probably won't admit to it, but I'm sure you do, we tend to copy what works well in other communities.
It's the case method, copy and study, steal everything.
Right.
If it works well,
Take it.
I mean, suddenly a lot of other people are going to be doing the same doggone thing.
Best practices,
So
and,
it's
and St. Louis County Municipal League is probably one of the best places that we all
Yeah.
get together at least once a month to share what we're doing in each other's communities and that, you know. Small cities, small municipalities have a group of mayors and chairpersons of villages that meet together regularly. The larger cities do, and we share with each other all the time. And we look to the St. Louis County Municipal League to pull together a lot of data for us on what has worked well in certain municipalities. They've been invaluable to us on getting our city's information to work with, and Tim can speak more to that, I'm sure.
It would be very hard, it would be very hard if we didn't have a really healthy league in this city.
Absolutely.
Because it provides that organizational structure for us to share, to be better informed, to work with the legislature. All of that occurs through the St. Louis County Municipal League.
It's the web that holds us
It's the
all
web.
together,
right.
is what it really does.
We do that research sometimes. We're a membership organization and the members pay dues, so we try to use those dues. Sometimes we need to do a little research on the best way to deal with an issue. And for example, a very microscopic one is this unfortunate situation where there's this very small church that likes to protest at funerals of servicemen because they think that those servicemen have died because God wants them to die because of the United States position on gay and homosexual positions and so forth. So it's a weird arrangement, but most of us don't believe that protesters should get in the face of family members during a funeral. But Manchester finally came up with an ordinance that was able to withstand court scrutiny, and it kind of uses these terms time and place. So you're allowed to give the families under the Manchester ordinance enough time and enough distance or place from these protesters to add some dignity to it. Well, when Manchester prevailed in that, we then circulated that to other cities who were struggling with the same thing about how do you add dignity to this situation. We understand in the United States people have the right to protest, but are there some bounds? And finally, with the Manchester Ordinance, some bounds that we can live with were held up to be constitutional, and then we all learn from that. And there's not a month that goes by that there's not another case, whether very small like that or perhaps a large case, maybe a tax solution to a problem to try to fund a new EPA requirement or something like that. And we can't do it. In that case, if it has to do with water, we might try to work with MSD and serve on some of their committees to try to resolve some of those things. But the nice thing is that, and I'm sure the school districts have the cooperating school district that helps them, I'm sure, as a network, share their best ideas and figure out how to advance the best practices that others have used as examples. And with the support of the mayors and other elected officials throughout the community, we try to do the same thing. So.
Sounds great. Well, Monica, you mentioned before best practices.
Yes.
And I know St. Louis County Municipal League recently spent a lot of time trying to come up with minimum standards that a municipality should have.
Right?
Not saying that you shouldn't have in a municipality if you don't have those standards, but these are things that you need to do. Could you kind of start on and address what that was, and then Monica, you and Jerry can fill in.
Well, I think there's a feeling, and part of it is it stems from the legislature and term limits. So we have a lot of new legislators all the time, and it seemed to be coming up more and more that legislators didn't understand exactly what cities were doing, and particularly the best practices in cities. The cities wanted the legislators to know when they were operating, a good city, and in most cases they do. We thought, well, maybe one way to do that is to set some standards. Some are in the ways of financial management, some are in the ways of public work management, some are in the ways of police protection. And if we could establish some minimum standards, then both the legislators, many of whom are new, and our elected officials, some of whom are also new, and we do have turnover here at home in our own cities on elected officials, that these standards then could be adopted by a broad range of citizens and cities. And if they didn't meet those on kind of a self-evaluation, we would then try to help them understand how they could. Or, for example, if they didn't have good, some of the small cities particularly, but not just small ones. We had an unfortunate situation in St. Louis County with a very large theft recently. But there should be segregation of duties on financial management so that it's difficult for one person to steal from a local government. So we focused on those best practices. We spent about a year and a half. Some people were a little bit worried that they were going to be picked on or something. But at the end of the day, everybody ended up cooperating and wanting to work toward those best practices. And we're willing to go out and meet with any city who's struggling on one or two of those best practices, and some of the other mayors spend a lot of time with their colleagues helping them address something that may be a shortcoming in their community. Those 10 have then been broken down into more microscopic elements, of almost 100, and everybody is kind of serving as mentors to everybody else to try to get it right, to operate the most efficient and effective government you can at the relatively low taxes. We happen to be, many people might think because we have 90 municipalities, they talk, oh, there's duplication and there's waste and all that sort of stuff. But actually St. Louis has been studied to have one of the lower tax rates in the country. And I think it's because when you do have small, you watch every dollar. I mean, it's your money, it's your neighbor's money. It's not like somebody else's money that you just get to throw around. But the 10 best practices have been made a big, I think, significant impact both psychologically on the local officials to say, we do have to make sure every one of these are being done properly. We can't just assume they are. And then we have to help our neighbors when they do have a shortcoming and try to see if we can't bolster them up.
Well, and it's about accountability, accountability to our taxpayers, to our constituents, to our residents. They deserve good government. They deserve efficient government, honest government. And these 10 best practices, if you follow them, pretty much prescribes that you'll have that. Do you have an audit done every year? Does your police force ensure that you have at least 2 officers on duty in your municipality for every shift. Just some very basic things. Do you set budgets? Do you have some kind of financial management tool to be able to enter revenues and expenses? These sound like very basic things, but some cities, many cities, may not be able to afford or have the professional people that you'd like to see in place to be able to carry out some of these things. So we help each other with those. If I know how to do it in my city and you are having difficulty with it, then I will lend you my financial manager or my treasurer that already knows how to do this, and we'll come and show you how best to do some of these things. And in most cases, as Tim says, most of the cities are doing these things quite well, but there are just some who are better at it than others. So we help each other out as best we can so that we can all arrive at doing things the best practice way. And that's pretty important stuff.
I also think that it serves almost as an educational tool because, you know, when you're elected, a lot of people think that the day you're elected, something comes down and bestows you with huge amounts of knowledge and understanding. You know, I've been mayor for over a decade, and every day I learn something new.
Absolutely.
There's a lot to be learned. And to have that list of best practices tells you about the important parts of running a local government, or not even running it, being responsible for local government. And whether you're talking about big city or little city, that is a really invaluable list to have.
Big time, big time. And it's going to help us all. It really will.
Well, it's a good starting point for saying, hey, this is what you need. And as
Yes.
Jerry says, you're not imparted with that knowledge the minute you're
That's
elected.
right.
That's right.
Although you may think so.
It can be pretty
Well,
overwhelming.
it takes a
It
long
takes a long
time to know.
pick
what's-
everything up.
Yeah, it takes a long
It does
time.
indeed.
Let's talk about regional thinking. We started out earlier in the show here, and we're talking about regional thinking and, you know, how it's not just me, it's me and everyone else around me.
Right.
And everyone else around those people around me, too. When we say regionalism, we're not only saying St. Louis County, we're saying St. Charles County, Jefferson County, Madison County,
Absolutely. We all touch each
St. Clair
other.
County.
We all drive through each other's communities every day for
And spend
everything
money
that
in
we
each
do.
other's community, too.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is important that as a region, we not only survive, but that we thrive, so that all of us enjoy a truly excellent quality of life from one end of the day to the other. You know, if we could just stay in our little cocoon of a city all the time, then regionalism would not be important. But we don't exist like that. We all share in each other's successes and failures. So it really is important for all of us to realize the boat that we're in is a joint one, you know, that we've all got to do well.
I think everybody realizes it, but they don't think about it enough when issues come up around. Because if you're, say like you're in New York or Los Angeles and somebody says, where are you from? Where are you from? You're from St. Louis.
Right.
I probably would not say I was from Blackjack because nobody knows where it's at.
Right. And we didn't root for the Greendale Cardinals or the Webster Groves
Groves
Cardinals.
Cardinals.
It was the St. Louis Cardinals. I mean, that's the way it is.
That's
you
the way
know.
it is.
This
And-
is our town, and our town means multiple towns. You
And
know, that's the way it is.
The health of our sporting groups, the health of our cultural areas, all of that is so important to
Extremely.
us.
It makes
The
us a
zoo,
great
the
region. It really, truly
museums,
does.
it's-
Yeah.
One of the current things, and Monica serves on Great Rivers Greenway Board of Directors, but we recently in April raised a tax to try to make more improvements around the arch grounds and in downtown. Local businesses are pledging, I think, close to $200 million to do some of that work. I know in a somewhat related manner, but more microscopic, as kind of contrasts, I think Webster and Kirkwood are working with TrailNet on interconnecting trails for their two communities.
Yeah.
But when you think, actually the effort on Great Rivers Greenway, the first was created in 2000, and a corresponding effort was done in Illinois right across the river. So we could have this wonderful big set of interconnecting trails. Some go across the river bridges. Actually, the legislation for the two states was signed on one of the bridges. And we try to take that. Does require some coordination with the county and with the city and with the state, But if you're able to pull these partnerships together, which we've been very good at doing in St. Louis, you're able to provide these regional boosts that make it a much more attractive place for the under 40 crowd who want to come and live and work here, and all those sorts of things. And I think
Indeed.
Monica and Jerry could both talk about some of their efforts just on trails.
Oh, great. It's been a wonderful find for us. We have a little two-lot pocket park that's right adjacent to the St. Vincent Park, which is a beautiful county park. It's a wonderful asset for us, and we have pushed a lot of our residents to use the trail, you know, to explore on it, to walk, to ride the bikes and what have you. A lot of people just didn't venture over there, you know, until we started purposely having events over there and pushing folks to use the services that we're all paying taxes for anyway. Great resources out there that Great Rivers Greenway has helped do, along with TrailNet and the programming that they've done. It's just a lot of great resources out there for us.
That brings me back to the positive look at St. Louis. You have a wonderful trail. We have a wonderful trail system here. Great Rivers Greenway has done phenomenal things for us that really is a model for the country in the way in which we have all worked together. I recently served on a statewide arts committee. What St. Louis provides in culture is just incredible. When you think about what we have, from the symphony to opera theater, you name it, we have it here. When you look at us in terms of our sports activities here, between the Cardinals, and God bless them anyhow, you know, we got pretty far, between the Cardinals and the hockey team, I mean, we are getting a bigger and bigger reputation as a sporting area. The communities that are so desirable to live in. This area of St. Louis, this region has so much to offer. If we could just step back and say, this is the most wonderful place to live.
You left the Rams out.
I'm sorry.
Everybody wants to
I'm
come
for
to
the
town and
Rams.
play
That's
the Rams.
because I grew up in
Because they can use the
Pittsburgh.
win.
I'm still a Steelers fan, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Winning will come to us again.
It'll come
Mark
again.
my words.
It's coming.
Yeah, well, hopefully. Well, Mizzou turned around, so I guess that.
The
I guess
Rams will
that's
turn
really
around.
true.
They'll be
They
fine.
will indeed.
Well, as we begin to wrap up here, is there anything we haven't covered that, you know, you want to cover? How about, I'll start with you, Tim.
Well, I think I would just stress that we have all the wonderful assets that we've talked about, much more cooperation than most people realize, relatively low taxes, tremendous involvement of our citizens on all our boards and commissions and informal things, even the community picnics. And I think it's hard to beat St. Louis as a wonderful, we haven't even got into our great hospitals and higher education institutions, the community college system and things like that. But I don't think we have gaps in St. Louis that need substantially to be filled. And we just need to continue to let people know what a great place it is and encourage their continued involvement.
Good.
And I would just add that for all of us out there and in here and everywhere, whatever municipality you live in or unincorporated St. Louis County, I don't care where it is, get involved. Do something to help your own community advance. You know, when the newsletter says we need volunteers, don't assume that we're not talking to you. Okay, we need everybody to be all hands on deck and help their community to be a better place.
Right, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, somebody once said.
True statement.
Jerry.
I think all I could add to all of this is that local government has been such a rewarding experience for me, and I would encourage other people to get involved in local government. It is very different because here you become much more project-oriented and you become oriented to making your community a better place to live. We don't have the kind of squabbles you have at the federal level and other levels, and it's a very good place to become involved in your community.
Absolutely.
Very good. Okay, final question. Jerry,
Yes.
Where'd you go to high school? I always ask everybody, that's a St. Louis.
I want to tell you, I went to high school in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, across the street from the Steelers training camp.
Very good.
I'm sorry, the Steelers are in
Well,
my
that's
blood.
fine. Hey, that's cool.
I was
Monica.
born and raised in St. Louis City. I attended Narix Hall High School. I'm a
In
proud
Webster Groves.
1971 graduate. It is in Webster Groves. Narix Hall Hallmarkers.
Very good. Tim.
I happened to graduate from a high school in Cincinnati, so not a local one.
See, and we
Okay.
still love them,
And,
We're all in it together, aren't we?
and how long have you been married, Jerry?
Been mayor for 15 years.
15 years. Very good. And how did you get involved in politics?
I got talked into it. This was never my life's goal. I'm a high I on the Myers-Briggs, and I never wanted to do anything political, and I got talked into it. So here I am, 15 years later.
Did you go directly, did you get elected mayor, or were you on the council
I was
first
on the council.
And then went to, that's usually the thing, the way it progresses. You get on a committee, and then you end up on the
Yep, on
council.
the
And then you
council.
end up, I did the same thing. Monica?
I did not go the normal route. I had never in my life thought that I would ever be an elected official of any kind. And I don't call it politics. It's public service for me, and I mean that sincerely, because that's what I do it for, is to serve the public. This is my second term. I was mayor from 2003 to 2007. Thought I would be able to sit down from it forever, and had to come back in 2011. So there you have it. You do what you got to do.
Is
you
it
know?
more fun the second time? Or?
Sure.
Is it?
I kind of know a little bit about it now, and I have a little help, so that's a good thing.
There you go. Tim, tell us a little bit about how you got involved with the St. Louis County Municipal League and a little bit about the league.
Yeah, I got involved. I worked actually for a smaller league in the Normandy area for about 15 years, and then took the job with St. Louis County Municipal League in 1990. The league was actually formed right after World War I, so it's about to celebrate its 100th anniversary. But it was even born out of the idea that where the mayors in about 6 or 8 communities thought that they could make progress if they worked together through a league more than they could standing alone. And so it was the same feelings that formed the league that we still have today that support this high level of intergovernmental cooperation that goes on in our region.
Mm-hmm. And there's multiple leagues in Missouri. I mean, like there's the Missouri Municipal League, there's St. Louis County Municipal League, and there one in Kansas City also, and one in Jefferson County.
Well, there's some that where the mayors occasionally meet. I don't think there's anything fully staffed and supported with the financial resources that the league here in St. Louis County does, except the State Municipal League. In Kansas City, they have similar to an organization we have here called East-West Gateway. In Kansas City, it's called the Mid-America Regional Council, or MARC, and they do a lot of the things that we do because they don't have a more formal league of cities within the Kansas City area.
Okay.
So again, it's different metropolitan areas take on different methods to try to solve their problems.
Sounds great. Well, I thank you very much for the show tonight. You've enlightened me in a lot of ways, and I hope you've enlightened our audience. And hopefully, if they have any questions, they can contact you. We'll put something up on the internet, or on the show actually, that'll show how they can contact you. And if they have any
Absolutely.
questions, I'm sure you'll be
Absolutely.
willing to follow up with them.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Norman.
Always a pleasure. Monica.
Thank
always
you
a
for
pleasure.
having me.
Thanks, Norm.
Tim.
Enjoyed it very much.
Very good to have you back again. Thank you for watching our show this evening. If you have any questions for me, please contact me at www.cityofblackjack.com, or you can call me at area code 314-355-0400, extension 100. Thank you. Good evening.
I'm Jeff, one of Ameren, Missouri's energy efficiency experts. Want to stay cool by upgrading your old air conditioner with a new, more efficient one, or tuning up the one you have now? With the Cool Savers program, you can get up to $720 cash back. Here's how. Signing up is easy. Go to actonenergy.com for a list of contractors offering our rebates. Click on the Cool Savers program. You'll see a list of available rebates and a link to find a participating contractor. Enter your zip code and select the type of upgrade you're interested in. A list of available rebates appears, and you select the rebate you want. This gives you a random list of all participating contractors serving your zip code. If you're selecting from the list, we recommend contacting at least 3 contractors for comparison. You can use your contractor if they're listed, or have them contact the program to join. You schedule an appointment with your contractor as you normally would, and your contractor will be able to tell you what rebates you qualify for. Your contractor performs all the work for you, and then they turn in the paperwork on your behalf. And in 6 to 8 weeks, you'll see your rebate. Programs to help you save. How cool is that?
Hello, my name is Norm McCourt. I'm the mayor of the city of Blackjack, Missouri. Make sure to follow the city on all of our social media platforms, including Facebook at City of Blackjack Government, and on Twitter at City of Blackjack, and of course, right here on GTN TV. You can also visit us on the web at cityofblackjack.com. As our motto states, we are proud to be connected with the community.
Hi, welcome to MyCube. I'm Jeff, one of Ameren, Missouri's energy efficiency experts. Do you have an old refrigerator or freezer? Those old units can guzzle a lot of electricity. So to help you take control of your bills, Ameren, Missouri has launched the Appliance Savers program. We'll come to your home, pick those old units up, recycle them, and give you $50. Here's how you can participate. Signing up is easy. Either call our toll-free number or visit actonenergy.com. There, you can select the Appliance Savers program and click the link to schedule your appliance pickup. Enter your Ameren, Missouri electric account number, and you'll see available dates for your area. Select a date, or none of the above for a program representative to contact you with other dates. Verify and complete your information and answer a few quick questions about your appliance. You'll receive a phone call the day before your date to set a pickup window, and a call when the driver is on their way. You don't lift a finger. The pickup team removes the appliance from your home, wherever it's located. 95% of your appliance is recycled, and in 6 to 8 weeks, you'll see your rebate. $50, how cool is that? Hi, I'm Jeff, one of Ameren, Missouri's energy efficiency experts. Want to stay cool by upgrading your old air conditioner with a new, more efficient one, or tuning up the one you have now? With the Cool Savers program, you can get up to $720 cash back. Here's how. Signing up is easy. Go to actonenergy.com for a list of contractors offering our rebates. Click on the Cool Savers program. You'll see a list of available rebates and a link to find a participating contractor. Enter your zip code and select the type of upgrade you're interested in. A list of available rebates appears, and you select the rebate you want. This gives you a random list of all participating contractors serving your zip code. If you're selecting from the list, we recommend contacting at least 3 contractors for comparison. You can use your contractor if they're listed, or have them contact the program to join. You schedule an appointment with your contractor as you normally would, and your contractor will be able to tell you what rebates you qualify for. Your contractor performs all the work for you, and then they turn in the paperwork on your behalf. And in 6 to 8 weeks, you'll see your rebate. Programs to help you save. How cool is that?